coming up, he's 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 coming up. It's there.
Welcome back to the Ball on Fire, and we are talking about the couple games that happened last week. Starting with Wednesday's game, that was last Wednesday, the London Lions versus the Surrey 89ers. Yes, London Lions came out, especially after their game against Manchester, with something to prove. They ended up beating the Surrey 89ers 87-72. Now, it was a good game to watch as the Lions proved why they're at the top of their game, possessing all their powers. A lot of players are back and are getting healthy, so this was a true strong side. London Lions going at it against the Surrey 89ers, but still the 89ers held their own, managed to keep up, but until the fourth quarter they slipped behind. It was a game, memorable but not that memorable. Friday, March the 13th, we have Leicester versus Cheshire. Now, Leicester's season has been quite turbulent. There's no other way to describe it. They didn't really have a strong season. They were sitting closely to last, and now they're fighting to get into playoff contention. I believe they beat Surrey recently. I think it was like a week before. Versus Cheshire, they needed to win against Cheshire. However, they fell to Cheshire, losing at least a couple points. So, Cheshire, obviously, they're sitting high in the mid-table. They are looking to probably even go further, and their season hasn't been quite good. But I don't think it's been as terrible as Leicester. Robert Paternostro is obviously a bit annoyed as he did win the playoffs last year, so he would want his team to do a little bit better in the league standing, and right now his team isn't doing good. And so this match, it had a lot of good games, a lot of good players in the game. He had a lot of good screens, a lot of good plays that old Paternostro utilised. However, in the end, it just wasn't enough, and then the game fell through. On the same day, we had Newcastle Eagles versus the Caledonia Gladiators. Now, Newcastle Eagles season has been quite bad as well. Very similar to Paternostro, Mark Stutel is aiming to get into the playoffs to save this season, as he is out of the EMBL. It could be wrong on that. However, it has not been as bad as the Caledonia Gladiator season. The Caledonia Gladiator season, you might as well call it a write-off, as it has been quite bad. Not to say that anything against the coach. I do believe the coach is a good coach. It's just that he's thrusted on him to commit to a lot with the Caledonia Gladiators. Bunyan's taken a lot of work. However, the Caledonia Gladiators lost again, which is proven to becoming a pattern with this team, and it's quite upsetting for the fans. So, what can I say more about Newcastle? Trying to get themselves in a playoff contention for the end of the season. That's what you should do. Whereas the Caledonia Gladiators' woes just seem to keep on going. Bristol Flyers versus Manchester Basketball. And Bristol Flyers have been quietly having a good season. They sit very high up in the table, and they were versing a Manchester Basketball club who recently just won against the Lions. And so this was a game to be seen. Bristol Flyers, obviously, they came out doing what they do best, which is running that ball high in transitions. And it seems that the game has actually changed them. Kapulis has got them playing more of a perimeter kind of offensive. They're not just taking shots after transition. No, they're not doing that now. They're getting kind of like this. They're getting kind of more technical with their game, which is becoming more formidable. But however, they didn't end up winning. They lost to Manchester Basketball. Manchester Basketball's just on a high, and they're beating teams. And Matthew on this team is devastating other teams right now. He's on a roll, and it kind of telling you what it's going to be like in the cup final. It's going to be a game to watch. these games happened thick and fast, and then Saturday you had Surrey 89ers coming back round again, and they come back round versus the Sheffield Sharks. And Sheffield Sharks are a formidable team. They're not a joke in this league. They are very, they can win against any team on the day. But Surrey 89ers came, and Lloyd Gardner proves why he's one of the best coaches in the league. He beat the Sheffield Sharks quite, handsomely, 95 points to 77. Now, Surrey 89ers have proven time and time again that you can do, this on a relatively small team, and they show you what they can do. Now, if they had the right people around them, which they do, they're going to go far, and I can see this team probably next season. They keep the coach because, he matters. If they keep the coach, this team is definitely going to go far into the next league. Probably might win a cup or trophy. That will happen. That's almost, I dare say, inevitable. How Sheffield. What can you say about Sheffield Sharks? They lost this game, but it's not normally like they don't normally lose. They're not in a bad position at all. Then Sunday comes around, and we have the Caledonia Gladiators beating the Leicester Riders. Now, this is a great game to watch. Quite uplifting for Coach Bunyan this evening. He needed this win. However, it is kind of upsetting when you hear the details. Leicester Riders team was depleted, and they didn't have much personnel to take on Caledonia Gladiators. However, a win is a win, and they won against the Leicester Riders. So Caledonia should be happy with themselves. They had a lot of players performing. There was a player that I want to look at because this player was really good, and that's Rian Holland. He had 21 points, and he is a much needed help for Ethan Wright. He's going to need his help in this team. Don't get me wrong, there's other players that do commit and play this team well, but Rian is definitely somebody who, as I say, sight for sore eyes. He is helping the team to win more games. Really look good out there against the Leicester Riders, and will show that he's definitely one to watch. Leicester Riders lost again. This is quite upsetting, as they needed to get themselves out of the bottom and into playoffs contention. So this is not going to look good. They have to watch their next couple games. Finally, not last, my team Lions beat the Eagles, which is saying something because we got beaten by them in the Eagles' house. Now they came to our house, Lions' house, the cover box, and we beat them quite handsomely, 98-71. It was quite a game. The referees, in that game were absolutely shocking. Mark Stutel got a technical because he walked onto the court and basically helped his team up because the referee didn't call a foul. Sabonis got a technical because he pointed out there was travelling. The referees really had a shocker on the day, but all in all, the London Lions won that game against Newcastle Eagles. Now, Newcastle Eagles, they're probably a bit pissed as well because everybody right now, most of these teams, Leicester, Newcastle, Caledonia, Surrey, all these teams, they really want to be in this playoffs, and they need to win this playoffs to redeem something of this season. So, I can see why the fight is happening. However, they need to start winning games. Surrey is trying to move themselves higher up, and Leicester is winning, but they need some help right now. Anyway, that's all I've got for you guys today. Until next time, peace.